Let's go over a realistic recruiting method in college football 25. If y'all want the absolute best recruiting method, let me know. I also got some videos already on the channel, but this one's gonna be centered around doing it more realistic and also doing it how they recruit a little bit in real life. I used to work in college recruiting for a program back when I was in college. So I know a little bit. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on the topic. It was some years ago, but I do have some experience, so I kind of know what's going on. Appreciate everyone tapping into the ebook/membership, man. Link down in the description. Tap in. One-stop shop, everything Dynasty. Check it out. So the first thing you probably want to do when you're looking to recruit a little bit more realistically and not just bring in whoever, you want to bring in guys that are actually going to fit the program, what you want to run, and then also bring in what you need. So you could look at that need screen. I think that's useful, but it's also very useful to bring in or to look at this screen right here. And this is just your roster, man. To see who you have leaving. And, you know, the one thing about that need screen, it don't tell you if a player is good. It just tell you got a player. So, you know, you can have 8 quarterbacks and they all could be 60 overall. They'll say you don't need a quarterback. You do need a quarterback. So here we have our top 2 quarterbacks graduating, and we don't have a solidified guy to take his spot. You know, we don't have a guy that's, you know, for sure going to be the next quarterback of this program. So in most situations, every recruiting class, you want to bring in one quarterback. In this situation, I would consider bringing a 4-star, maybe like a 3-star quarterback. Real life, you're not bringing in multiple top-level quarterbacks. That's just not happening with a program. 4-star quarterbacks is not going to the same school with other 4-stars. Not in today's era where you could just, you know, transfer out as many times as you want. That's not happening. Running back room, we got some young guys, man. I wouldn't prioritize it as much, but definitely got some young guys in there. Wide receiver, you just want to bring in gems. You know, you just want to bring in gems, but also I wouldn't consider it a major need. If we find one or see one, we bring one in. Tight end, same kind of deal here, man. Actually, the more I look at it, we don't have any young good players. You know, we have this sophomore 68 overall that will redshirt. But other than that, after, you know, these guys junior year and their senior year, then we're in trouble at the tight end position, so probably want to address that. O-line, probably want to bring in 5 O-linemen every single class at least. No matter how many O-linemen it says you need, you probably want to bring in 5 O-linemen, at least one at each position is usually what I go for. D-line, also, I would consider a position of need. We have a 59 overall, and the other than that, we have a guy graduating, so definitely want to bring in a couple left ends, and the same thing with the right ends, man. D-line is definitely a position of need. D-tackle, not so much. We don't have that many young guys, but also would deem that as position of need. Outside linebacker, major position of need. Middle linebacker, we're a little bit better there, but also probably want to bring in a couple guys. Same thing with right outside linebacker. Corners, always want to bring in at least 1 to 2 corners every single class. Same thing with safety. Whether you bring in 2 safeties or 1, you always want to try to bring in a safety. So once you identify your team needs, it's a couple different ways you could go about recruiting. And we're doing this realistically from one, like the game perspective, and also one from like realistic recruiting on how they do it in real life. So for 5 stars, we're Syracuse. We're a 3-star team. Syracuse is not bringing in 5 stars. I'm sorry, they're not bringing in 5 stars. So what we're gonna do here, we have them interested in us. We'll go after them. But until we actually improve, get our prestige up, become a better program, we're going to only recruit mostly 4 stars unless they're interested, or if we have an in-state guy. So I consider going after this middle linebacker because he's an in-state guy. He's from New York, so I would consider pursuing him as well. Also, then I'm going to go down to the 4 stars, and the first thing, any recruiting class, any recruiter in real life, they're prioritizing quarterback, especially when you got a quarterback room the way it looks for us, man. We have 2 guys that's graduating here shortly, and we don't know who's going to be the quarterback of the future, and we need to find a guy right now. Unfortunately, we don't have any quarterbacks interested in us, so we're going to have to go find one, and I'm going to start with the state of New York. I'm going to go with my pipelines, and unfortunately, we can't go with any of the guys in our pipelines. So the first guy here, we can't go any in-state guys, I should say. First guy here is Florida, which is one of our pipelines. Also, I'm looking at what type quarterback is he. Do I want a scrambler? Do I want an improviser, field general? We know scrambler is, you know, the most. It's so many scramblers in each class. I wouldn't prioritize scrambler quarterbacks. I'd much rather actually bring in an improviser, field general at this point in the year because they progress better and it's, you know, a little bit more challenging to get, but it's worth it because they progress better. So unfortunately, we don't have any improviser or field general quarterbacks that we could go after in this class. That's, we actually have a pipeline boost. So if we wanted to go after an improviser down here, we would have to just convince him, and he's all the way in Texas. We don't have no pipeline boost. This wouldn't be realistic. Could you do it? Yes. Does it happen in real life? Yes. But not that often, man. 4-star quarterbacks is not, itching to go to Syracuse when, they got Texas A&M, all these other schools in their top 5, and, they're from the state of Texas. So in this situation, we got to go after one of these guys that's, at least interested in us, or we at least have some type of pipeline influence, or we could just drop down to a 3-star. But I wouldn't recommend that, man. Quarterback is the one position I would say go all out for. And that's what guys do in real life. That's what teams do in real life, man. Try to find the quarterback of the future and build the rest of your class around that quarterback. So when we scouting here, when we looking for players, we looking for a gem at that quarterback position, number 1, and then we're willing to address some of these other positions. And then when it comes to scouting, when you're doing it realistic, it's a couple ways you go about it. Realistically, you shouldn't scout. And I know that sounds crazy because the game and scouting is such a big part of actually recruiting in this video game. In real life, scouting does not look like this. Like, you're not able to, you're not able to see his speed is 85. You're not able to see he's a gem in real life, man. It doesn't work exactly like that. You can see he's fast, you can see he's a good player with potential, but you're not able to see that he's a gem, that instantly, just by clicking a button. So you can do the no scout if you want to make it a little bit more challenging, make it a little bit better, more fun for you. But in this situation, we're going to scout, and we obviously found the quarterback we probably want to pursue. It's going to be a dogfight. It could be, at least. We have no pipeline, or we have a 2 pipeline boost, but you got some flawed schools in there with a 5 pipeline boost, And same thing with all these guys, So we're going to offer the scholarship. One thing with this recruiting method, want to be a little bit more cautious with who you offer a scholarship to, because in real life, it's a numbers game, man. It's a numbers game. You get a lot of scholarship offers out there, and you offer scholarships to guys that have, no interest of really going to your program, but they're a good player. In this game, it's a little different because you only got this 35 scholarship limit. Real life is no real scholarship limit of how many you can offer. It's a limit of how many guys you could bring in. So now we found a quarterback we definitely want to pursue. I'm comfortable going after the rest of my recruiting class. And first, I probably want to prioritize that D-line, man. That D-line seemed the weakest. If we come over here and we look, the D-line, let's say we only need 3 D-linemen. I would say we need more, man. I would say we need more, especially when we got 59 overall freshmen, and we got 60. Yeah, I would say we need more D-line, man. And then also our linebacker core was pretty weak, so we definitely want to address that. We only got 23 team needs, so really, if we bring in 15, 20 players, we're fine. And in real life, that's what, programs like this is bringing in. I say programs like this, Syracuse is a good program, but high school, they might be bringing in 15, 20, You got the Georgias who's bringing in, 25 to 30. The top schools really bringing in 25 to 30 blue chip players. Blue chip players are going to be your 4- and 5-star players. And, real life, these smaller schools are not doing that. They're bringing in 10, 15 scholarship players. And then they might fill the rest of their class with transfers or just, under-recruited players, stuff like that. So we're going to go to D-linemen. We see it's 2 D-linemen already interested in us. So we're going to add both of them. We understand one's a speed rusher, one's a run stopper, different archetype, but we got to do what we got to do here, man. Got to do what we got to do, but also might not be the best idea to search by recommended. Let's go to 4-star, and then also let's look at 3-star, because the recommended always don't be the most accurate, but at that time the recommended actually was useful. And then D tackle, we don't have any 4-star D tackles interested, which is fine. D end was mainly the need. So next I'm gonna add the D ends. I'm gonna come over here, scout, and I'm gonna see what I'm actually account for how they look. And if I don't like the way their attribute looks, I'm gonna remove him. If he's a bust, mental abilities, no physical abilities, he is 6'6", 300 pounds. For a D lineman, this is not bad. This is not bad, man. This is not a bad prospect. 300 pounds with 73 speed, 6'6", 82 on the block shed. Like, that don't look horrible to me, man. I'm not just going to go by the gym or bust. I'm going to actually look more so at their attributes. 86 on the finesse moves, strength low. We know that block shedding is going to be low. But he's a DN. That's fine, man. Finesse moves out this world, and the speed is also 80, which is not amazing, but good enough. So then I want to go to my next priority, which is probably going to be your tackles, man. You want to get like the premium positions out the way, the positions that, is some of the most important on the field. As you see, we're going for quarterbacks, D linemen, and then also, the O-line, your tackles, to be more specific. And we got a couple right tackles interested. If y'all don't know, left tackles are rare in this game, man. It's a lot more right tackles than it is left tackles in this game. Of course, you can always just move a right tackle over to left tackle, but that's something to worth knowing, man. Just left tackles are more rare. You gotta move them over. Then we'll add a couple tackles, guards. We don't have any interested, but we could also, just go by any in-state guys, any pipelines. Also go by that. Centers, unfortunately, no 3-stars, or it's not that many 4-star centers in the class anyway. But let's add maybe a guard or two that's going to be from PA that we have some type of pipeline boost. And then we'll do a little bit of scouting, man. We'll do a little bit of scouting. If we like what we see, we'll go after it. If we don't, we'll remove it and go after the next guy. But also when I'm doing this, I'm just keeping in mind like what I want to do for my program. What type team I want to build. Do I want to run the ball? Do I want to pass the ball? Like whatever I want to do, I'm going after those tendencies. And, I'm actually having a little bit of a strategy here than just aimlessly, recruiting, scouting, going about the whole thing. So go through all your positions of need, and then also, just go through the premium positions. Like I said, premium positions that's, just most important on the football field. Like I said, your quarterbacks, your pass rushers, your tackles, just to name a few. Also probably want to get you a good cornerback, bringing at least one cornerback a class, and then also at least one quarterback a class. We're not bringing in more than one quarterback, just one. Especially going at the 4-stars, like I said. If you're going to bring in the 4-star and the 3-star, okay, that's one thing. But if you're going 4-star above, one quarterback is your max. So unfortunately, we don't have any 3-star receivers interested, or 4-stars, or 5-stars. So, what do we do here? Well, what we do is we'll find a gem. We'll find a gem in the rough, man. We'll add some New York guys, some local guys, and we'll do a little bit of scouting, trying to find some, a receiver that we want to bring in. Like I said, I probably want to bring in at least one gem receiver class. If I can find a gem, I'll do it. But if I can't, not the end of the world. We do find a gem route running receiver, 6'2". He's also a little bit tall, so I do like that. Now, leave these guys on the board, but I'm not going to scout them for now. I'm going to focus on the next thing. I found one receiver I like. I'm going to go focus on the next thing. I'm not going to scout all these guys. We don't have a ton of hours. We're a 3-star program. We have a good amount, but not a ton compared to, the 4 and 5s. And outside linebacker is a position of need. But in this game, outside linebacker, in my opinion, is not that important. And, I hate to say it like that, but I feel like you could win without having good outside linebackers. It just depends what defense you run. So I'm not going to prioritize it. I'd much rather, prioritize my quarterback, D-line, O-line, cornerback, some stuff like that than my outside linebackers. My middle linebacker, I do value a little bit more, but not so much the outside. Recruiting in this game is weird, though. It's sometimes you get that, in between where you don't have, 3-stars or 4-star prospects interested in you, and it's weird. It's weird, man. You'll get that in between where you really just don't have any prospects interested in you, and you got to convince everyone. I don't know if y'all ever experienced that, but we're going through it right now. I definitely experienced it. It's when you're that 3-star team, 3 to 4-star prestige, I should say. Sometimes you'll get it like this class right here, where we just don't have many 4 or 3 stars interested. We should have a ton of 3-stars. If we come over here and just search by 3 stars interested. And then we'll actually go by 3 stars. How do we have 3 stars interested in us in the whole nation? Is that not insane? Is that not nuts that we only have 3 stars interested in us, but we have a bunch of 4 stars? To me, that's it's some type glitch. It got to be. But we won't add these guys because they're scrambling quarterbacks. We already found the 4-star quarterback we like. I will add the O-lineman because why not? And I aim this recruiting class is not to bring in 35 high schoolers, man. It's not. That should rarely be your aim unless you're year one and you're trying to rebuild the program. Here, we're trying to bring in a smooth 15, 20. Because if we bring in 15, bring in 3 transfers, we had 18 players. That's not bad. We bring in 20, bring in 3 transfers at about 23. Also not bad. Even if we do bring in 25 and we got, we might have some of our players transfer out. So bringing in the 35 is I just usually don't recommend it, because you're going to end up having to cut a bunch of guys on the back end. And, could be useful to do that if you're turning over a roster, but every single year it just kind of get a little bit annoying cutting guys you don't really want to cut. So I try to, like I said, 15, 20, 25 is usually what I stick with for my whole entire class. And for high school guys, like I said, I'll probably stick with, 15 to 20 and, leave room for a couple transfers. That's what they do in real life, man. Leave a couple scholarships out there for the transfers. So when we are allocating our hours, we actually want to go through this screen right here where you could actually like rotate position by position. And for example, like we got our quarterback we like, we maxing out 50 hours. We're going to put the full hours, running back. But in this situation, we're always going to go after the guy we value the most, So you don't really want to go after 2 running backs, especially when you don't need 2 running backs, and especially when 2 running backs usually don't play for you, depending on your offense. 2 running backs could play for you, but when it's 2 power backs, that just don't make sense to bring in 2 power backs in one class. I'm be honest, it don't make sense. You want to bring in power back and elusive back, one thing. 2 power backs just don't make sense. The reason I scouted this guy is because he was from New Jersey, and he was already interested in us, and he turned out to be an actual gem. But we're going after the 5-star who's interested in us. Wide receiver, same concept. We're going to put 50 hours here, or it's a 3-star. We could put in less hours. We do 25 because, like I said, it's a 3-star. You usually do a little bit less hours. But if we want to scout and find another wide receiver, we could do that as well. But we already found a guy that's a gem, looks pretty solid. We'll look to bring him in. Tight end, we're in first place. We'll put the 50 hours in. But the main thing is, like, for positions where not multiple guys play or multiple guys start, we're only going to go after one guy at a time. O-line, multiple guys start at one time. You have 5 O-linemen. We could go after, 3 different O-linemen at once, or 3 different tackles at once, because we could always move them to another position. But going after 3 different quarterbacks at once makes no sense. So we're not going to do that. And here was, we got to convince a guy, but we will try to convince a guy to come to Syracuse. And when I'm allocating my hours, I just want to make sure I'm putting hours into the guys that actually, matter. My D lineman, like I said, linebacker. We don't even have a linebacker we're going after yet. I'm fine with that. We'll figure it out later, man. Linebacker is a position that I'm cool with figuring out later. Cornerback, not so much. I want to find a cornerback now. We got 50 hours left, and we got 2 safeties. They both hybrid. Well, guess what? We're going to do 25 hours for each of them. And then we're just going to advance. We're going to go through the normal recruiting process, but we're going to actually schedule some visits, because that's what happens in real life. A lot of players go on visits in real life, a lot. That's why I don't get the 4 limit in this game. And the 4 visit limit in this game is actually makes 0 sense, because in real life, a school would bring in 15 prospects on one visit for a game. 15 prospects, if not more, man. I literally seen it. 15 plus players on one visit, compared to, and it could be 4 different quarterbacks at times, man. But in this game, they put this crazy limit on us. So advance, we locked out for our quarterback, or the quarterbacks we pretty much our secondary quarterback. But you notice here, like, we're just going after our top guys, and just doing what we can. But once we build up that lead, that momentum, we might remove some hours and put them elsewhere, man. That's the game of recruiting. When you feel like you already got a guy in the bag, you might let up a little bit. When you feel like a guy is too far out of reach, you might want to get out. And Penn State, we're not going to get out yet, but he's from Pennsylvania, so they got a big advantage. But if they're still in the lead by a lot next week, guess what? We're getting out, man. We're not going to get into the fight with the big dogs when we're a smaller school right now. So when we're trying to recruit realistically, we're going to get out. And like I said, this Penn State, I'm not going to get out just yet. But for this guy down here, man, we don't have the hours to put in more. We're only putting in 25. Notre Dame is dominating that recruitment. We got to put in more hours. We don't have them. Let's get out and focus on other things. We could focus on bringing in another power back. I wouldn't recommend it, but at the same time, do I want Army to get a power back? No. A 4-star gym power back? I don't want that. So this situation, I will go after another power back. It don't, like I said, wouldn't recommend it, but we could do it. Also at this point, like when a few weeks in the season, I think realistically, that happens in real life. When you see a guy kind of under-recruited, you might go after him. So we're going to do the same thing. Some of these 5-stars, a little bit under-recruited, I wouldn't be against going after them, man, if we had some hours. But, you always go at some of these 4-stars that's also under-recruited, especially the 4-stars that's under-recruited, man. Go after some of these guys when you see them, when you advance and they're not being recruited. well, guess what? That's the perfect time, especially if you got a pipeline boost. And you know, try to convince a guy to come to the program. So I won't go through the whole year, but y'all kind of get the memo, man. Prioritize your top players. And, you know, we're going after this quarterback here. Usually I would at least like to have another quarterback on the list, just so, you know, we go out there. If we don't get this guy, because we are going out all out for him, but it's a possibility we don't get him. And then we're, you know, out of luck. So it is helpful to have, you know, just a backup quarterback or at least a 3-star option. And but once you get your top commit, then you start going after, you know, if you have a top wide receiver commit, then you start going after the other wide receivers, kind of in that order, rather than just randomly going after some of these guys, man. Have more of a plan and prioritize the top players, prioritize the players that matter the most in the game of football, and then also what your team needs. And then when you hit the transfer portal, have more of a strategy. Just don't go, oh, it's a 4-star, whatever, interested quarterback. If we already have a starting quarterback, do not bring that in. You know, if you have a starting running back, don't go bring in the top running back in the recruiting class or in the transfer portal. Excuse me. That, you know, that's not going to sit well with your current running back. That's not realistic. So just have a little bit of a mindset when you go in the transfer portal. Now, if you have a mid running back and you bring in a good running back or another mid running back, that makes sense. But when you have a star player, it's not smart to bring in another senior star player that's going to ride the bench. Stuff like that, man. If y'all did enjoy the video, like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate y'all for watching, man. Check out the ebook, membership, all that down below. And click the video on the screen now for my Triple Crown rebuild.